Hi, welcome to Something to Talk About. My name is Taco, and I'm here to talk about a Song of Ice and Fire character named Galazza Galare. Great name. The Meereenese have great names. If you don't know what's going on here, pause this, read this, find out. Boom, 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 bomb. Yeah. Don't worry, that won't be a new thing I do. Yeah, we're talking Galazza Galare. The Green Grace. Is she the Harpy? Probably. So if you don't know what's going on, we're going to talk about this, the Song of Ice and Fire character, and I'm going to try not to burp. So I took a bite of a Pop-Tart right before I started, and then I washed it down with ginger ale, and then I clicked record, and somebody just took multiple gulps of ginger ale. Oh, probably not a good idea. I got to burp now. All right, moving on. I think I got past it. The Green Grace. What's up, guys? Galazza Galare is a Green Grace. Boo, ba, ba, boo. This is a request from Spoit. Spoit. I don't know how to say your name, but thanks. I went and looked, and you requested it like a year ago. I'll be talking about all this later, so I don't need to do it now. But sorry for the wait. All right, cool. Galazza Galare is a Green Grace. She's the high priest of the Ghiscari at the Temple of the Graces in Meereen. She is from the house of Galar. Galaza is a tall, graceful woman, despite being past 80 years old. That's pretty old. Her hair is white and her skin is parchment thin, but the years have not dimmed her piercing green eyes. Yeah, she's got piercing green eyes. They keep saying that. They say that a lot. Daenerys Targaryen thinks that they are sad eyes and full of wisdom. Dany, these are all in Dany chapters, of course, because she's mostly... No, never mind. I guess you see her embarrassed in chapters too, but mostly Dany chapters. And Dany always just talks about her eyes. that's like a big feature. Her beautiful, piercing green eyes. As the Green Grace, Galazza Galare wears a shimmering green silk veil that covers her whole face except for her eyes. She has soft skin, she has a soft and kindly voice. She does also have soft skin. All right, I didn't want to talk about Meereen. I think I've done that before, but I wanted to cover, because normally I talk about houses, which you guys know, but it's an Essos character, a Meereen character, no house here. So, I guess House Galar, but nah, screw that. I'm going to talk about the Temple of the Graces. I found out that I've never had a chance to just mention these guys, so I'm going to do that. Maybe I'll make a short one day. Maybe you'll see it soon. The Temple of the Graces, the Temple of the Graces houses the priestess known as the Graces in the city of Meereen. The Graces are the priestesses of the Ghiscari religion. They are housed in the Temple of the Graces, each Ghiscari city. They wear a bunch of different colored robes and donate different, to denote different functions. The Green Grace is the high priestess. The Blue Graces are healers. The Red Graces are temple prostitutes. The White Graces are young girls of noble birth, too young for the pleasure gardens of the Temple of the Graces. And the Pink Graces have an unknown specialty, and they attend the Green Grace. There's also Gold and Purple Graces. They're all named Grace. like Grace Under Fire. You guys remember that TV show? No? Like 90s sitcom? All right. The voice of peace, or a voice for peace. Those are the words I wrote. Galazza Galare is the high priestess of the Ghiscari at the Temple of the Graces in Meereen when Daenerys Targaryen takes control of the city. So she is only a Dance with Dragons. She's the last book character, right? There's it. There you go. All right. We're all hanging out in that book. Last book. Spoilers. Spoilers for the last book. Don't watch me. Don't watch me at all. During a day at court hearing practitioners, Dany's first is the Astapori envoy, Lord Gale. The next practitioner is Hizdar Zolorak, the wealthy Meereenese noble I'll be talking about a lot. For the sixth time, Daenerys refuses to grant his wish of opening the fighting pits of Meereen. She checks him out and recalls that Ranzak and the Green Grays have been urging her to take a Meereenese noble for her husband in order to reconcile the city for her rule. Yeah, right away we know that that's the Green Grace's plan. That's the first thing we learn about her. Before we even meet the Green Grace, we know that she's trying to urge Dany to marry some noble, right? Next to speak is the noble Grazdan Galar, the cousin of the Green Grace, whose support Dany had found invaluable, right? So she's already thinking the Green Grace is invaluable. The priestess has been a voice for peace, acceptance, and obedience to the lawful authorities. So she's been like saying, you know, obedience to lawful authority. Let's break down that sentence. That means that she is trying to get people, or is at least looking like she's trying to get people to follow Dany's laws, right? She's a voice for obedience to the new laws of the city. So Dany thinks. All right. I am a little dubious of Galaza Galare. There we go. So yeah, where was I? She's been good voice. She thinks that she can give her cousin a respectful hearing, whatever he desires. Yeah, that doesn't last. What he does ask for is he asks for gold and compensation from some former slaves who had opened their own weaving shop using skills learned during their time as his slaves under the tutelage of a old fine weaver. That's the best verbal typo I've ever had. Just fine weaver. That's really good. And this is a really sad thing. I shouldn't be joking right now, but that's a really good verbal typo. I'm not the best at this, guys. I try. Wiener. So this dude's like, hey, I had a slave who taught these other people how to weave, and now they're making money, and I want money from that. And she's like, all right, what was the old slave's name? And he's like, Wyla or something? I don't know. And she's like, all right, well, you owe them money, and you suck. Bye. It didn't work out for her. But yeah, it's so funny. She's like, well, this is a cousin of the Green Grace. I better be nice. And the guy's like, tells his horrible sentence. And then she's like, no. So dinner with Dany. Galazza Galare, the Green Grace, appears before Daenerys, attended by a dozen of white graces. Galazza is in all green, surrounded by the little girls robed and veiled in white, armored in their innocence. Dany welcomes them warmly, then summons Missandei to see that the girls were fed and entertained, whilst she shared a private supper of honey lamb with the Grace. The food served by two of Dany's favorite hostages, who happen to be the cousins of the Green Grace. Dany tells her good things about them, like, they're pretty good hostages. They are my blood. It is good to know that they have pleased you, your radiance. I hope I may do so likewise. How's my voice? Is that pretty good? Yeah, shout out to David reads the Song of Ice and Fire, by the way. As Dany looks into her green eyes, Galaza goes on to say, if you will forgive me saying so, your radiance looks weary. Are you sleeping? Dany tries not to laugh. She's like, no, not at all. So she tells her about the attack by the Carthenia galleys the night before. Dany says that perhaps the Green Grace's gods can help by sending a gale of wind to sweep the galleys from her bay. And Galaza answers, I shall pray and make sacrifice. Mayhaps the gods of geese will hear me. Galazza Galare sipped her wine and asked about news about more freedmen being murdered, because everyone's hearing about these freedmen being murdered, right? Dany says it was 3 of them, And Galaz answers, This we have heard, and yet your radiance has found courage to answer the butchery with mercy. You have not harmed any of the noble children you hold hostage. Dany says, not yet, at least, because she has come to like her hostages. So there are some sneaky, weird stuff going on here, right? I don't state it here. I say it later on. But I'm pretty sure here, the 3 people murdered were somebody who they were freed slaves who were owning a weaving shop, aka probably the 3 weavers that her cousin wanted to pay them, and then they're killed, right? So it's really weird that it's 3 weavers, right? Not only that, but it's weird that she immediately goes, oh, so people have murdered these 3 weavers, and you're not killing any of your hostages. And Dany's like, no, I kind of like them. And she's like, all right, so we can keep doing it then. Like I said, I'm a little dubious of Galazza Galare. We'll talk about later. Time to get married. She jokes that if she did it, who would pour her wine? If I murdered my cupbearers, who would cup my bear? Who would bear my cups? The Green Grace does not laugh at that, and she says, the shaved pate would feed them to your dragons, it is said. A life, for every brazen beast cut down, he would have a child die. Dany looks away and tries not to cry. Dany says that she is no butcher queen, and Galaza says, and for that, Meereen gives thanks. They go on to speak about the Butcher King of Astapor, King Cleon, and his death. Galaza asks if she may give Dany counsel. Dany agrees, and she tells Dany that it is time that she gets married. Dany saw this coming because that's all this old bat ever talks about. So Galaza speaks, oft times I have heard you say that you are only a woman. To look at you, you still seem half a child too young and frail to face such trials by yourself. You need a king beside you to help you bear these burdens. Dany asks if a king can get rid of Zaro's ships, the Carthene ships, or break the siege at Astapor, or feed the poor, or bring peace to Meereen. What can a king do that I can't do? The Green Grace simply answers, can you? So it's kind of cold. She's like, you need a king to help you do these things. And she's like, oh, can a king bring peace? And she's like, can you? Green Grace. Sniper. All right. A king is not a god. There is still much a strong man might do. When my people look at you, they see a conqueror from across the seas. Come to murder us and make us slaves make slaves of our children. A king could change that. A highborn king of pure Ghiscari blood could reconcile the city to your rule. Likewise, I fear your reign must end as it began, fire and blood. So Dany asks who the gods would like for her to marry, and she just firmly says, Hisdar. Hisdar's a Lorak. She's like, oh, I didn't see that coming. Yeah, she saw that coming. Marry the Lorak. He speaks for the trees. Dany did not trouble to act surprised and ask why Hisdar and why not Shahaz, who is also highborn. And Galaza says, Shahaz is Kondak, Hisdar is Lorak. Your radiance, forgive me, but only one who is not herself Ghiscari would not understand the difference. Oft I have heard that yours is the blood of Aegon the Conqueror, Jaehaerys the Wise, Daeron the Dragon. The noble Hisdar is of blood of Mazdan the Magnificent, or Hazrak the Handsome. Hazrak was handsome, for sure. Or Zarak the Liberator. Who did he liberate? Dany says that his ancestors are dead, as are hers. Who cares? And if Hisdar can stop her enemies, and that can stop her enemies, and that she needs ships and swords, not ancestors, right? And then Galaza claps back, "We are an old people. Ancestors are important to us. Wed Hizdar Zolorak and make a son with him, a son whose father is a harpy and whose mother is a dragon. In him the prophecies shall be fulfilled, and your enemies shall melt away like snow. He'll be the stallion that mounts the world." Yeah, no. Dany at this point is sick of hearing, like, "Why don't you marry this dude? You got blood and he's got blood, and the kid will be like, rah, the powerful." Yeah, no. Prophecies can suck the big one, is what Dany says, right? Like, she's tired of hearing this crap. So yeah. I'm trying to find it. So Dany thinks, "Oh, here we go, another prophecy." Dany thinks on it and then asks Hizdar what Hizdar thinks of it. And the Green Grace tells, "Your Grace need only ask him. The noble Hizdar awaits below. Send down to him if that's what your pleasure." And Dany says, "Why not?" And she sends Barristan down to have the Unsullied bring him up. The Green Grace finishes eating and says, "If you please, your magnificence, I will take my leave. You and the noble Hizdar will have many things to discuss, I have no doubt." The old woman gives her cousins, the little serving kids, each a parting kiss. All right. And then we're flipping over to She is Burning. Is that? Yeah, that's where I'm at. Galaza says, "I shall return to the Temple of the Graces and pray for the gods to show my queen the course of wisdom," as she leaves. Dany speaks to the Lorak, and though neither of them love nor even express much physical attraction to one another, Hizdar promises to put an end to the attacks by the Harpy's sons. With 26 days of no murder, because, it's a little weird that she's like, "Well, can you stop the killing?" And he's like, "Yeah, super easily. I just have to tell maybe." All right. Within 20 days of murder, Hizdar thus far had success in preventing further murders. So yeah, 26 days and no murders. She meets with the Shave Pate Skahaz Mo Kandak, who has been having Hizdar followed, and Skahaz thinks that he is the secret general of the Harpy's sons, that he calls the Harpy. Yeah, so the Harpy's sons are the people who are killing freedmen and Unsullied alike, right? And that's where we're like, no, we wanted this killing to stop, and it was the Harpy sons who were doing it. So Skahaz is like, "No, dude, Hizdar Zolorak, totally Harpy's son, 100. And yeah, he completely thinks that. Not Harpy's son. Sorry, he's just the Harpy. He's in charge of the Harpy sons. When she goes to court, she finds it empty, and the city is afraid. Eerie informs that Dany. I think about it whenever I cover Eerie, where it's like, should I cover one of her two maids who are with her the entire books? And I've come to the conclusion, no, because they aren't really huge characters, but they're in for like the majority of Dany's scenes, and we don't really get too much of them like character arc wise. I think was it Jackie Neary? You guys are gonna tell me the like servants who she has for a long time. I think they're gonna be no's if no one's ever asked, but yeah, I definitely don't think I ever will. Yeah, Eerie informs Dany that that three of the Blue Graces, remember who are the healers, accompany the Green Grace to speak to Dany, along with Grey Worm. A lot of colors here. Blue Graces, Green Graces, Grey Worms. When Dany asks Eerie if the Green Grace said it was that she wants to talk about, she says, "Astapor." I don't know why I used her voice for it. Astapor. Is that Eerie's voice? I don't know. Grey Worm speaks first and tells her of a rider on a pale horse that was saying, "She is burning." Grey Worm had the rider brought to the Temple of the Blue Graces, and the writer keeps repeating the phrase, she is burning, and when he is undressed, they find him skinny and feverish. One of the Blue Graces explains that they've cleaned him and found a poisoned wound from an arrow, and the man kept repeating, she is burning. And when Dany asked who she was, who's burning, the Blue Grace says, Astapor, your radiance. This is the Pale Mare. This is the guy with the Pale Mare. He's the guy who's like, Astapor is burning. Why is he feverish? We're about to find out. What are we supposed to be wearing? The Pale Mare. Dany says that it might be the fever talking. When Galaza speaks, saying, your radiance speaks wisely, but Izara, that's the Blue Grace, saw something else. The Blue Grace named Izara tells Dany that the fever was not brought on by the poison of the arrow, but he was sick. Galaza says that he was bleeding from his bowels. Yeah, they found some blood in his poo-poo because he soiled himself. And they were thinking like, oh, maybe there's blood because he was like wounded. No, that wouldn't be in his poo-poo. So, yeah. So, Izara goes on to say that Meereen has more to fear than the spears of Yunkai. We must pray, said the Green Grace. The gods sent this man to us. He comes as a harbinger. He comes as a sign. When Dany asks a sign of what, she says, a sign of wrath and ruin. Yeah, the Pale Mare. He's like one of them horses of the apocalypse, right? He's one of the four horsemen. He's one of Ric Flair's old stables, right? Dany doesn't want to believe that. And she says, it's just one man. And then Dany remembers the Pale Mare that Quaithe warned her about. And then she stands up and thanks them like, oh, that Pale Mare. You guys are going to have to go. And then the Green Grace says, we shall pray for Astapor. And for me, Dany thinks like, oh no, this is one of them Quaithe prophecies, knowing that with the fall of Astapor means Meereen is most likely next. So if you guys don't remember, Quaithe tells Dany a bunch of stuff, right? And it's like, beware this guy and beware that guy, beware the sun's son and the mummer's dragon and the Pale Mare. And then she's like, so just a guy who brought some sickness on a Pale Mare. You gotta go. Yeah, she had one of them realization moments. Later on, Daenerys visits the thousands of Astapor camped outside of Meereen. She finds them sick and dying of the bloody flux and walks among them with her blood riders. Daenerys returns to her pyramid in Meereen when she takes a much-needed bath and then dons a tokar so she can dine with his Darzo Lorak. But first, Reznak, Mo Reznak, and Galazza Galare need to speak about the wedding. And she's like, oh yeah, the wedding plans. Dang it. Women's cake. She wears a blue tokar thinking they'll be pleased. She was only half wrong. The priestess and the seneschal, that's Reznak, no Reznak, were happy to see her garbed in a tokar, a proper Meereenese lady for once, but they also really want her to strip. What they really wanted was to strip her bare. Dany hears them out and incredulous. When they are done, she says that she will not present herself naked to Hizdar's mother and sisters. Reznak Mo Reznak says, she must. It's like a cool thing. He goes on to stutter and hesitate his words, saying that it's a tradition and for the women in the men's house to check out the woman's female parts to see if they are, and he's like stumbling, and the Green Grace answers or finishes for him, fertile. So what we're talking about is in order for her to marry the Lorak, she needs to get naked in front of his mom and sisters, and they're going to like check her out and see if she's fertile, which is barbaric, right? Wait, I'm here, right? Yeah. No, I'm past this. I'm at the women's cake. What am I doing here? Yeah, women's cake. Yeah, so Fertile, the green grace finish. An ancient ritual, your radiance. 3 graces shall present to witness the examination and say the proper prayers. Then Resnack says that she gets to eat a magical woman's cake afterwards. Come on, you get to eat cake. It's like a cake I don't get to eat. Whoa. I'm not giving you, this isn't a thing I'm putting in the comments later, or in the description. But the last food description, I think that Glidus and Alt Shift X did, they talked about the women's cake. And I can't think of the women's cake without thinking of that. It was really funny stuff. Anyways, you get to eat some women's cake. It's cool. It's awesome. You should go do it. Dany says that no, and that the girls can check out their own parts and then share the cake among themselves. She also says that she will not wash Hizdar's feet. This also causes Resnack to protest. Like, yeah, but come on. Dany asks the Green Grace if they can have a Westerosi wedding. And she says, the gods of Geese would deem it no true union. In the eyes of the city, you must be a noble Hizdar's. You will be noble Hizdar's concubine, not his lawful wedded wife. Your children would be bastards. Your worship must marry Hizdar in the Temple of the Graces with all the nobility of Meereen on hand to bear witness to your union. Dany reluctantly agrees, but she's like, I ain't washing feet or eating no woman's cake. The wedding and the pits. On her wedding day, she wakes up. Oh, by the way, she talks to Hizdar, and Hizdar is like, I'll wash your feet. None of this matters. Like, they make... It's so funny because the whole scene is like, oh, but our traditions are important. You have to get your body examined from the females of his family, and you have to eat the women's cake, and you have to do all this. It's all tradition. And then she's like, Hizdar, what do you feel about those traditions? He's like, dude, as long as I get to marry the dragon queen, I don't give a crap. And yeah, he's like, I'll wash your feet. I'll wash whoever's. I don't care. So yeah, so they don't end up doing that. All right, so on the day of the wedding, she wakes up next to Daario. She later meets Quit Martell and the other Dornish. You guys know who the Dornish are, who defected to Daario, and they reveal themselves to her as Dornish people. One of them's a prince, and the other 2 are knights. Archibald Ironwood and Garrus Drinkwater. Daenerys refuses to marry Quentyn. The Dornishmen make one last plea before Dany's wedding, which she denies, and then she goes through with the marriage. And Hizdar Zolorak on the day of the wedding. Yeah, she goes on. Oh yeah, Galaza and her fellow Graces wait for the bride and groom outside their temple. The Graces bring an ivory chair and a silver bowl so Hizdar can wash her feet. Yeah, who cares? And then they follow the Green Grays into the temple. 4 hours later, they leave man and wife. Galaza and many of her Graces attend the reopening of Dagnak's pit, and Daenerys disappears from the pit on Drogon. Yeah, she deuces, and flies out on the dragon, right? Sir Barristan Selmy, Lord Commander of the Queen's Guard, seizes control of Meereen eventually. In his queen's absence, and sends Galaza to the Yunkai to offer his peace terms and gold to 3 hostages held by the Yunkai. Skahazimo Kandak distresses Galaza. Oh my god. The Green Grace returns, telling Barristan that the Yunkai have refused his offer, saying the peace would have worked so hard to forge, or the peace we have worked so hard to forge flutters like a leaf in the autumn wind. These are dire days. And the only price they will accept is the death of the dragons. And then Barristan's like, yeah, easier said than done. You come kill these dragons. They're dragons. What are you thinking? All right, there you guys go. Galazza Galare is still Galazza Galare is still alive. So no, Poochie's dead, and then we got some stuff to talk about. So is she the Harpy? This was a request from over a year ago by CPO It. Thanks a ton. I don't mean to be mocking your name. I just don't know how to say it. Sorry for such a long wait, but yeah, thank you so much for the request. it's a really cool character, and compared to the one I did earlier this week, not that long either. It's still pretty long. So first things first, she's a major candidate for the Harpy, the one who's controlling the Harpy's sons, right? She has a ton of power, and she hides in plain sight. The fact that Galazza's cousin is who asked for money for the Weavers, and then after Dany turns him down, they are then killed. That's pretty suspicious, right? Dany also shows Galaza that she won't harm any of the hostages, which shows that she's weak, right? And the murders keep going until she agrees to the Green Grace to marry the Lorak, right? So it's one of them are the two best candidates, right? These all point fingers. This topic is super huge, right? And beyond the scope of this vid. Yeah, this isn't I don't do theory videos. This isn't a theory video. I do lore videos, right? But I'm pointing you towards theory videos. Go watch the theory videos. But yeah, do I think Green Grace is the Harpy? Yeah, I do. I think it makes more sense. But yeah, but that doesn't. I don't know. You know, I haven't read the next book if it's even revealed in that. So I don't know if she is. That's just my guess. There are many good vids on this topic. I cannot mention all of them, so I'll only mention a couple. The first is that the Company of the Cat has a fantastic video called Chaos and Meereen, the Harpy's Plot, and the False Ghiscari Legacy. Yeah, no, awesome. Their videos are always fantastic. Company of the Cat's amazing. They do a really great job, and they look at a lot of different candidates, but mostly settle on Green Grace. And I highly suggest the video, yeah. And then Quinn the GM also has a fun video looking for the perfume seneschal, and then brings up Green Grace in that. So that's less looking for the Harpy and more looking at beware the perfume seneschal of whoever the perfume seneschal is, who's going to most likely betray Dany, right? So that's looking for a different candidate, but also Green Grace is a candidate in that as well. And then Grease Goblins, who I've never suggested before, so boom, the Grease Goblins also has a video looking at who the candidate of the Harpy is, and he settles on the Green Grace. I'll drop that a link too, right? Go check these vids out and tell them that I sent you. Hey, Taco told me to watch this. Good stuff. I'll put all three of the links in the description. And before I go, either I have a video out now, like it just came out, or it's coming out soon. I'm not sure when I'm going to be posting it, but I will be putting out a rather major channel update video, and I don't want to give that away right now. So seek that out because I have a lot to say in it. Got some channel updates going on. So either that's out in the next day or it just came out. I don't know when I'm planning on dropping that. So keep that in mind. Go watch that. And also, I'm putting the Company of the Cat, the Quinn the GM, and the Grease Goblins videos linked in the description. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Thanks for the request, and peace.